I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Calgill, James Fite, and Jeff Charles. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, Political Head Games, what are Dems thinking? Still Trump? Without Trump, who can the Democrats use to campaign against and win? Woke box office bombs. It's been a tough year for the woke box office for Hollywood. Who is the latest casualty? We'll tackle a tough one, dressing up inflation swamp style. Everyone from the barflies to beauty parlor biddies are talking about inflation. We join them this week. And in our member zone today, is Joe Biden past his sell-by date? And finally, we'll play around in our Just for Fun segment, a fan favorite, where you never know what you'll learn. All this and more coming up on this edition of the Conservative 5. It's no state secret that former President Donald Trump has taken up permanent residence in the heads of Democrats. It's comical. It's a head scratcher. After all, the man lost in 2020. But of late, the rants and raves on the left have turned into a downright desperate demand to bring back the life of the man they took out. Well, our very own senior political analyst, Tim Donner, asked the same question and artfully answered it in a piece published on Liberty Nation this week. Tim opined, quote, "The left has adopted a strategy of scaring Republicans about a president they support in overwhelming numbers, which signals nothing less than abject desperation," unquote. It begs the question, is a rehash of Trump going to save the midterm elections for Democrats? Sarah, girl, you have been involved in national elections in a former life. What kind of strategy is going on here? And most of all, will it work?
It worked in 2020. We saw 3 years of negative campaigning against a guy that they were terrified of, and it worked. It worked like a charm. Problem is, unless he declares or unless he's backing a lot of candidates and coming out and speaking about it, it won't work because he's non-existent. So, the thing with the Democrats are they don't have a message. If they can't run on the economy, they can't run on COVID, they can't run on their military intelligence. They have no platform. They don't have a message. And until they get one, they got to keep rehashing Trump. Problem is, Trump might not be around. We don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, that's a good point. But Jeff, you have good instincts on political moves. Why the constant resurrection of a guy that they hate? You think he's gone, we're done, move on. But it's like they can't move on.
It's funny, Lisa, because I think that there are some Democrats who are starting to get it. I actually wrote a piece about this recently for LibertyNation.com, and it was Governor Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina, who was cautioning against Trump derangement syndrome. And he's a Democrat, and he's saying, guys, we can't focus on Trump like we've been doing. It's not going to work. However, it's not going to happen. They are going to focus on Trump for two reasons. One, they just can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. President Trump is like crack for these people. They can't quit him. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, Sarah already said it. They don't have anything to run on. Nothing. Why do you think they keep pushing this whole January 6th thing? That's all they have. All they have is January 6th and Trump. They have nothing to run on. They have no victories. They have done nothing. Biden's presidency has been an utter disaster and an utter failure already. So yeah, they're going to try it. And honestly, I would disagree with Sarah on this. No matter what Trump does, it's not going to work because they've already dug their grave.
I think in addition also to the fact that they have nothing else to work on, every time they speak, they embarrass themselves. This whole, for instance, I think it was Tim, he wrote about the Hispanic red wave. Why is this happening? Because the Democrats, they use these things like Latinx terminology, or, just the other day, Nancy Pelosi was talking about, we can, politicians can trade stocks and profit off of all the private information we get because it's a free market economy. So not just President Biden, but every Democrat just blunders and gaffes like the commander-in-chief. So I think in addition, not having nothing else to run on, they just embarrass themselves. So they have to, lean on Trump to bail them out.
Jim, do we have a situation of fear of Orange Man? I mean, is it fear that's stoking this fire?
That's exactly what it is. You asked the question, why does Trump keep coming back? Not that Trump himself is actually constantly coming back, but they keep resurrecting him. I mean, why did the creators of dozens of movies continue to resurrect Jason Voorhees or Oh man, what's the Freddy? Nightmare on Elm Street.
Krueger.
Well, Halloween,
Yeah.
Michael Myers.
And Chucky too. He's got a TV series.
Okay,
Right.
you got me confused. Who are we talking about?
I don't know. I'm lost.
Trump, the ultimate boogeyman for the Democrats.
Yes.
He is scary. And why is he scary? I mean, he came out of nowhere. He got in on this establishment game, which you weren't supposed to do to begin with. Then he made all these crazy radical promises and actually tried to keep them. That right there, I think, is the most terrifying thing to establishment politicians, regardless of the letter by their name, because it completely overthrows this idea that you can just make whatever promises you want to get elected, and then who cares? I mean, Trump, and then on top of all of that, he was actually fairly successful as president. I mean, that's a cherry on top, right? So, Trump is the ultimate boogeyman for the Democrats. And if, like everyone else has said, they don't really have anything else to run on, all they can do is fearmonger at this point, to try to get those Democrat voters out to the polls to make sure that Orange Man Bad doesn't win again if he runs. But even if he doesn't, we can't have another Trump.
Sarah, can you win by running against, just keep on running against Trump? We have to assume that he's going to run. I mean, all the signs are there.
Probably. I think it would be a lot closer than we thought it was, in the 2020, simply because they got in and they've been just a horrifying disaster. So people are going, maybe I should have voted for Trump. Oops, I don't know. So you've got, I don't know. I think midterms are going to tell us a big story, and they're probably going to lay the groundwork for whether or not, he comes back full force for 2024. It's a battle I don't think I want to take on, honestly.
Jeff, it seems like this Build Back Better thing is getting a more and more hollow ring. It's as if you're hearing the bell outside by the Salvation Army guy, hollow, very hollow, empty kettle.
I mean, at this point, it's like Build Back busted. I mean, this isn't going anywhere. I mean, they may be able to get something done next year, but I mean, they're trying to say that they were going to get it done by the end of this year. Well, now they're kind of admitting that that's not going to happen. I think if this thing does pass, it's going to be so watered down that it's not even going to matter, because they had to cut a lot from it. They had to take a chainsaw to this thing. So, and even then, they're having trouble getting it passed. So I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. And even if it does, I don't know if it'll do so in time to dig the Democrats out of this hole that they're in.
Plus, they keep lying about the Build Back Better, too. They keep lying about the costs involved with it. Not only did the price tag go down, but also how to pay for it. Biden, over the summer, he says it's going to cost taxpayers nothing. CBO comes out and says, oh, yeah, it's going to cost about $200 billion extra. And then the CBO came out, which Tim also reported on recently. They said that if all the sunsets clauses were eliminated and they were made permanent, it would add about $3 trillion to the deficit. So anyone worried about the federal budget or the national debt, which I guess these days nobody really cares about anymore, that would hurt the voters too. So of course, once again, that's why they try to distract from that issue and go to Trump, who wasn't necessarily fiscally conservative either. Let's be honest with that.
Did you say, Jim?
Oh, I said I care. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the only person that cares about the national debt, but I care.
Well, as Sarah said, there are many ways to win an election. Candidates can create they can project a positive, realistic, and forward-looking vision. Supposedly, that's what Build Back Better was, but that just doesn't seem to be occurring. But the opposite is true. Negative campaigns are more often conducted by candidates who have no message and platform. Maybe that's where the Democrats are going to go. I don't know. But that signals desperation. Voters can sense weakness, which brings defeat. They can kind of smell it. So we'll see in due time what will prevail in 2022. Thanks, panel. This year was all about going woke, from retail giants force-feeding Black Lives Matter to consumers, to television programs featuring transgendered actors. Well, if you ain't woke yet, you have a healthy immune system. But going woke means going broke if you're a Hollywood type. And the latest grand standard to take a big hit for the team is none other than Steven Spielberg. Spielberg decided to take it upon himself to right the hideous crime of Caucasian actresses. Natalie Wood playing a Puerto Rican teenager in the 1961 movie West Side Story. Dear Lord, how did we live that life for so long? So Spielberg decides to hire only actors and actresses of Latin descent for his corrected remake. Okay, I can buy that. But if we want to be true to the story, why put a Colombian in the starring role? There's got to be some Puerto Rican actresses out there somewhere, aren't there?
Well, you know what, Lisa? Like, I think, I like Steven Spielberg, and I think he might have just gotten him canceled because I don't think they noticed that he replaced the actress with a Colombian actress. And now you just told them and gave them the idea to cancel him for not casting a Puerto Rican actress. So if Steven Spielberg gets canceled, it's going to be your fault, Lisa. And I'm sad to say that, but here's the thing: I don't care if they recast the movie or however they do it. The thing is, Hollywood is going to have to figure out a balance between going super woke and still being able to entertain. I mean, it seems like every time they go super woke, there's a backlash, and it's so bad that even in public or even in works. The works that aren't too woke, it still comes out that way because we're just so used to them preaching at us. Some of this stuff can be done without preaching at us. Tell a good story, and then if you have a message, find a way to put that in the story without preaching at us. We don't want to be preached at. If we want to be preached at, we just go to church or just watch, MSNBC.
Andrew, is the American public, just pining for a Black Rick in Casablanca?
Oh, God. Oh, no, please. No, I hope nobody ever touches Casablanca. Ted Turner made that mistake. I think it was in the 80s when he had his little color crayons touching Casablanca. So no, nobody should ever touch that beauty of a movie. But with West Side Story, I mean, the source material is dreadful anyway. I can't take dancing gangsters seriously. I think the only dancing gangster would be James Cagney. Only he could do it properly. But everybody else, I mean, it's a ridiculous story. I never cared for it anyway. But I think if this is going to be the platform for more movies or more distributors, ignoring the cinemas and going straight to the streaming services or straight to all these digital platforms, because it saves them a lot of money. Because if they put a movie into the cinemas, they split that box office revenue in half. So by doing that, by just going to Netflix or Amazon or putting for rent on all these platforms, they can save a lot of money and they won't lose so much. Like West Side Story, that was not going to be a box office great like Saving Private Ryan or any other Spielberg movie. So this could be the start of, or this could be a catalyst of a new trend in cinema.
You don't think it's going to be a blockbuster?
I'm sorry?
You don't think it's going to be a blockbuster?
West Side Story, the musical? No, I don't think that's going to be a blockbuster, because the problem with all the, I mean, now you're going to get me on a tangent here, because the problem with all these films, they're written by children, especially these remakes, all written by kids who are so emotionally stunted. I mean, take for instance the Star Wars movie, the one with this episode 7, I think it was, or 8, that came out a few years ago. This Raya character, she learned the Force within a few minutes of the movie. Luke Skywalker took a whole series to learn the Force. What the heck is that?
And he had to do a handstand and lift a X-wing out of a swamp.
And then the other issue too is that you take all these legendary characters, Terminator, like Schwarzenegger or James Bond, and you turn them into little blithering old fools who are always depressed about something or something's damaged them. Luke Skywalker's drinking urine from some random animal on a planet. It's god awful. It's god awful cinema. They ruin everyone's heroes just for the sake of female empowerment or being woke. It's absurd. So I'm sorry, my rant is over there. You can move on.
Yeah, don't even get me started. I'm going to shut up because when it comes to Star Wars, I have very strong opinions about this. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, Sarah, I was just talking to our Hollywood reporter, Kelly Ballard, and she was just saying they're talking now about a binary James Bond. Are you in?
For the love of God.
No. Be true to the character. I mean, if you lie about the art that was created, it falls flat. It's going to fall flat every single time if you lie about the art. People who write these characters have very, specific ideas in mind. And, Natalie Wood did a fine job on West Side Story. The thing won all sorts of accolades and awards. This thing failed day one at the box office, the Steven Spielberg version of it. And, you can't correct the original artist. You just can't. You can't make it better.
Well, it's funny, Jim. The other day we were watching Jimmy Stewart on an old Carson episode of Carson, and he was talking about Ted Turner colorizing It's a Wonderful Life. So we went to watch It's a Wonderful Life in the original black and white. It was interesting because Stewart said, don't watch it in colorized because we all look orange. So, my question to you is, does it really matter what color anybody is? I mean, orange, black, binary. I mean, it's
only if you're a Democrat or a progressive. They're the only ones that care.
Cast all female protagonists if you want to. So what? Cast a colorful mix of races. So what? The problem is that part of the problem is that a lot of these are just complete reboots, but that's a different topic entirely. But the problem with trying to go back and correct some former movie by empowering women by making it an all female cast,
recasting, right,
or changing the races of people, or even the sexual orientations of people, which that I think is the most damaging to the original story of all three. But when you do that, what we end up with is that woke ideology is the main dish, and the actual story is just a garnish. It's supposed to be the other way around. I mean, like, you got to expect a little bit of ideology when somebody pours into a film what most filmmakers pour into a film. You're going to expect some of them to bleed through. But these aren't even attempts at actual storytelling anymore. And that's where the problem comes in.
Jeff, I sense you have a few thoughts.
It is absolutely ridiculous. It's pissing me off, honestly. I mean, in some of these cases, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with race bending or gender bending in some cases. Like if they cast Idris Elba as James Bond, a black man, I wouldn't care as long as he's a straight British male, because that's who James Bond is. I mean, even if you look at Superman, they want to make a black Superman movie. They're already making it. And I'm not saying that they're making a different Kryptonian character who happens to be black. They're turning Clark Kent into a black man. That's stupid. Just create a new character. You know what? They already have a black superhero that is just as powerful as Superman. His name is Icon. He's a black man. And you know why they'll never make a movie about him? Because he was made as a conservative Republican. I'm just going to throw that out.
Oh, that's really interesting. Andrew, I know you're an opera fan, and a number of years ago, we went to Wolf Trap, which is the kind of national theater here in Washington. We went to see Madame Butterfly, and they decided to do what we're talking about now, which is what's called non-traditional casting. It was really odd when the man started singing "My Little Waif," and I looked at Madame Butterfly, and she was 250 pounds. I couldn't get past that.
Oh my God.
There was relative.
These people ruin everything. I swear, they ruin everything.
Yeah, there's the classic Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm the very model of a modern major general, and then they did this studio or this Broadway group. They did a remake called "I'm the very model of a modern homosexual." It's just it's rooted in the classics, and even opera's gone woke too. A lot of these characters, they have to insist on being a specific race. So for instance, people are getting upset because Madame Butterfly, they're trying to. A lot of traditionally white people play the lead character from Madame Butterfly, but everyone's saying that's racist, And since you mentioned James Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life, I'll say, Lisa, do you want the moon for you?
Oh, there you go.
I can get the moon. Are you sure about that? I can get that for you. Donald Reed would love to have the moon. That's
Daddy, every time the bells ring, an angel gets his wings.
A Democrat goes woker.
All right, well, Star Wars, Charlie's Angels, Men in Black, X-Men, Shaft, believe it or not, Terminator, all woke redos and box office losers. How long can Hollywood keep this up before the coffers run dry? Thanks, panel. The Biden administration is setting records we cannot afford, and we have to talk about it whether we like it or not. In 2021, the post-COVID U.S. economy is dealing with rampant price inflation, anemic economic growth, and a ballooning federal deficit. But will public policymakers respond with conventional economic solutions or insist that approving deficit-financed spending bills will be the cure for the highest inflation rate in 39 years? Anyone and everyone is talking about it, but few understand it. Well, here at Liberty Nation, we have a secret weapon. His name is Andrew Moran, our very own economic guru. Andrew, could you please explain what the heck is going on here in terms we can understand?
Well, if you mean inflation, I mean, there are so many factors when it comes to inflation. You have the Federal Reserve monetary expansion. They've created 1/3 of all U.S. dollars ever created in U.S. history in a time span of just less than 2 years. You have the global supply chain crisis. You have the fiscal expansion of the Biden administration, plus also the trillions of dollars that Trump spent when he was president. You have simultaneous global demand as the economy opens. And then, just on the commodities front, you have the weather conditions, you have public policy making in other countries. So it's just a perfect storm of this price inflation you're having. And all the numbers that I've studied from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that it's not really slowing down, especially on the energy front. So I think that's it's quite dangerous. But what I'm concerned about is that the Federal Reserve or the White House, they don't want to remove the spike punchable from the economy. They want to keep injecting the economy with all this free money. And that's one of the issues of inflation, is that you have this excess capital flow, and you're having people chasing too fewer demands. So that's another issue. So if they take this away, if they take all this money away, they could threaten economic decline or even exacerbate the anemic growth that you're seeing right now. Perhaps stock market would even crash because they've become so dependent on this free money. I was telling Jeff recently on Ellen TV that in economics, it says that you take about 6 months for public policy to seep into the economy. And that you saw that happening in real time. When Biden became president, he approved that massive stimulus check. I think it was $600, $1,200 to all these people across the country. Guess what? 6 months later, you saw the massive price inflation start accelerating. So you see this happening unfold. It's just that the administration and the Federal Reserve, they never took it seriously. They kept insisting it was transitory, and then finally they said, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's transitory. But you know what? Red hot inflation, do you know when it's going to subside? It's going to subside right before the midterm elections.
All right. So, Sarah, we got a situation going on where all this rampant spending, and then, of course, they rose the debt ceiling, this week, is what's causing the problem. But yet the Democrats are kind of going down that road anyway.
I've never seen anything like this in a year. I've seen regime changes cause issues. I have never seen, and Andrew called it the perfect storm, and maybe that's exactly what it is. And I don't know who to point the blame at, but I do know that the people in my world, that's all they can talk about is how much they have to spend on a pound of hamburger and how they can't find what they need, how they can't get their Christmas tree, filled with presents. And we're just the little people. I took one semester of economics in college, and I couldn't follow it. In fact, my instructor, who I couldn't understand, threw an eraser at me to wake me up. But, when I hear what Andrew has to say, I want to ask Andrew instead of anybody else, how do you fix this? I mean, where do we go from here? I don't even know the first thing. I know how to get a job, make money, and pay bills. I can't look much further than that. I can't even, begin to write out $1 trillion. How does this normal person, like me, didn't go through economics 102. How do we deal with it? Where's the fix?
Oh, that's the direct question. Okay, well, so first of all, on the policy front, it's a perfect question too, because the Federal Reserve, they just finished their December FOMC meeting, and the dot plot showed that, okay, 3 rate hikes are planned in 2022. But if you watch that press conference of Jerome Powell, he said, oh yeah, just because a dot plot shows 3 rate hikes, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the plan moving forward. So that doesn't really calm you down with your inflation fears. Second of all, when it on the market side of things, if you look at the supply chain crisis, it's not improving at all. In China, they have the new 7-week quarantine where people can't leave their boats. So what you're having is that you have a huge traffic jam at these Chinese ports. So I think the last number I saw was about 250 ships that are just standing there. In the West Coast of the United States, the ships are at a high record level of the traffic jam. They're extending well into the Pacific Ocean. What you can do to fix it, you can't really do anything at all except try to live within your means and try to earn more. If you try to earn more, inflation is going to hurt you. If you see all the real wage growth, it's evaporated because of the rampant price inflation of the last year.
All right, but it's interesting because, Jeff, inflation, basically well-to-do people notice it. Middle-class people feel it. but it's the lower class people that are really getting hammered. And why don't the Democrats understand that? I thought they were supposedly the champions of the lower class. How does this help?
It doesn't, Lisa. And it's interesting that you talked about the different levels of different classes and how they're feeling it. I saw an article saying that even millionaires are starting to feel the impact of inflation. So if millionaires are feeling it, it's got to be horrible for people who are under the poverty line. And I think what's been very vexing to me is the response of this administration. They've been poo-pooing the whole thing. Oh, this is just a rich person's problem or whatever, or it's just transitory or whatever. And, and Andrew and I have talked about this. I know that Biden does not deserve all the blame for this. I know he doesn't have full control over this. But at the same time, if you're doing the same thing that caused this, why are you continuing to do it, especially when you do claim to be the champion of the little person? I mean, spending was down in November. This Christmas season is going to be down too. And it's making me wonder how it's going to impact all of those businesses, because this is usually when they try to get into the black. If we're spending less because things are more expensive, it could also have ramifications going into 2022 as well.
Jim, you're our legislative hound. And I saw a reporter the other day asking Elizabeth Warren in the hallway, how do we deal with this inflation? And she said, well, we have to get the rich to pay their fair share. I mean, it's a mantra, as if the wealthy class, the affluent people, are not paying taxes. Do you think they're going to try to legislate their way out of this and, try to tax the rich some more? And is that going to fix it?
Well, I think the Democrats are always going to try to tax the rich other than themselves.
Okay, but the rich have been taxed.
Oh, no, I know. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just I'm saying that's where they're going. What happens with these things is, okay, we're going to soak the rich, right? These tax changes are only going to affect the rich. What ends up happening is they affect everyone, except for the people that can pay CPAs enough to get out of them. Ends up hurting the poor, as most of these measures do. But no, the legislative fix would be to pass a balanced budget. And even that's not an immediate fix. We're way too far in debt for that. I mean, we're pushing 30 trillion in debt every year. For the last few years, the U.S. government has spent between $6 and $7 trillion and only brought in $3.5 trillion in tax revenue. So we're far beyond the days of a short-term fix actually solving this. It will have to be long-term balanced budgets. And what you see from continuing resolutions and debt limit hikes and what happens each time these arguments come up is that there is no plan to actually do that. The plan going forward is simply spend all of the money until it's gone and then print, borrow, or tax more.
What I love too about the Democrats is they keep coming with so many excuses for this price inflation. This past summer, Brian D said, "Oh, high inflation is only high because of the things we're counting that's causing high inflation." What the heck is that? Jen Psaki and Elizabeth Warren, they both said, "Oh, it's the greed of the meat lobby that's causing all those higher prices." It shows they have no idea what the heck they're talking about, and their excuses don't jive whatsoever. Why are meat prices high? One of them is higher employment costs. One of the chief unintended consequences of the whole Biden enhanced federal pandemic benefits was the fact that a lot of people enjoyed them. They made more money getting those benefits, so they wanted to stay home, depleting their work ethic. So a lot of these meat packing facilities, what they do is that in order to clear this backlog, they're trying to find workers to work all the time, or trying to find workers to work evenings and weekends, and they're trying to pay more to do it. So what's happening? They can't do it because nobody wants to do the job. So they keep having to raise these wages, and then that money eventually seeps into the rest of the economy, causing you to have 20% higher beef prices.
I love the logical tautology in that first example. Inflation is only high because of the things that we count as inflation. That's like saying it is what it is, or the truth is a fact. It's just a clever way of saying absolutely nothing.
Well,
because that's better than admitting that you screwed up.
They think they're clever when it comes to explaining meat inflation.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the White House is spinning this mess as if it's normal. Just the other day, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki claimed that Build Back Better would not increase inflation. So I'm going to suggest that you sit down and have a glass of Christmas cheer with our Andrew Moran, and he can set her straight. Thanks so much, panel, and thanks for watching. Well, folks, we've had a week of political mishmash. To let off some steam, we're going back to the oldie but goodie game called Just for Fun. So today we'll play a game of political worst case scenarios. Everybody gets to pick a number from 1 to 5. The panel has not seen these questions. They have been hermetically sealed. So let's begin with our funny man, Andrew Moran.
3.
Number 3. All right, let's see.
I hope it's not Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi.
You know it's gonna be.
Question.
I almost feel like you should just ad-lib it as Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters now.
Yeah, whoever's on there.
Number 3, you find yourself under the mistletoe, surrounded by Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, John Ossoff, and Stacey Abrams. You gotta smooch someone. Who do you lock lips with?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I mean, Stacey Abrams. Oh my goodness. I'm not gay, so I guess I have to go with Hillary Clinton. You know, how much that pains me. I'll just close my eyes and think it's, you know, another hot Democrat.
Oh my good. Anybody else have any different answers there?
I'd kiss Bill Clinton. He's probably pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's had a lot of practice. I'm with you, Sarah. All right, Jimbo. 1, 2, 4, or 5 are your possible picks.
So I'm going to pull a Jeff here and go 1.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Damn it,
everybody's
man.
taking
Damn it.
Jeffrey's. Just if this is your first time tuning in, Jeff must have number 1.
Yeah, and I haven't had it for like the past few times.
Oh,
And he says it so
I didn't
exuberantly
expect
too.
the wine.
Like,
I was waiting for you to whine. It's white. Okay, here we go. It's white elephant time at the Swamp Christmas party. You drew Hillary Clinton. What do you get her this year?
I'm sorry, it's what time?
Oh no, he doesn't know what a white elephant is.
I've never heard of this before.
A
It's
white
like
elephant.
a secret Santa. You give
Sarah.
somebody a weird gift. God, you need an education.
You know, a goofy gift. All right, well, we'll let somebody else take this. Jeff,
Yeah, sorry.
take this.
Jeff, you can have
Yeah, I
one.
got one out after all.
Okay, now you got one after all.
Wow, Hillary Clinton. Oh man, what would I give her?
Dead air, Jeff. Dead air. What do you
Well,
got?
see, but
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid something that will get me killed. So I'm trying to see what I can get here that would.
I have an idea. I'll take this one, and then I will give you another one if you like.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, I would get her a walking stick so she can walk for hours and hours in the fields, like after she lost her the election 2016. So I
How
think
about Donald
Hillary,
Trump's
Seems like a
delivery
good,
speech?
relatively safe option.
what do you think? A Hillary walking stick?
No,
What do you-
I'd give her.
That might
I'd give her a lifelong therapy sessions to get over her own crap.
All right.
I would give her a discount to my ghostwriting services for the next time she wants to write a book about why she lost.
Okay, so whose was this originally? Was this Jim?
Mine.
This is Jim's.
Okay, so Jeff, you get 2, 4, or 5.
5.
5?
Yeah.
The White House elf on the shelf has a hidden camera. It has recorded Joe Biden in his office for a month. What's on the tape? Oh my goodness.
Probably a lot of Jill Biden, probably a lot of flatulence, and his meetings with his teams where he does. Talking with his wife, flatulence, and a lot of snoring. That's what's on the camera.
Maybe the sippy cup makes an entrance.
That too. Yeah, probably.
We may finally get to hear the truth about corn pop.
I think perhaps he's walking around his office, just randomly touching things, looking out the window, scratching his head, just doing all these random things because since he doesn't work all day anyway. So he's just, being like an old man. It's what old men do. They look out the window and just walk around from one point to the next. At least that's what I plan on doing.
I think
Yell at some
you're
Secret Service
gonna
agent, tell him to get off his grass.
Did somebody say something about Brandon?
I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see daily injections of any
You get
kind
them
of
B12 shots.
no worse, like
Hair plugs.
adrenaline, just to keep him moving.
All right, Sarah, you can have, let's see, 4 or 2. And I already
2.
went. 2, you lost a bet, and now you have to go Christmas caroling with either Nancy Pelosi or Liz Cheney. Who do you pick and why?
Oh, Nancy Pelosi. She's going to be drunk, and I'm going to be drunk with her.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, I pick Nancy over Liz Cheney.
And Nancy seems a lot funner than Liz Cheney doesn't seem fun at all, at all.
No, I think we can lube old Nancy up and get her rolling, and it might be kind of fun as long as we're not talking politics.
At least you know what you're getting with Nancy Pelosi. I mean, Liz Cheney, she says she's a Republican. I don't know.
And she might shoot you in the face.
Yeah.
Like her father.
Wrong Cheney.
That's my joke. I've used that joke twice.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
I know, right? You just got to hope it's not hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
You're plagiarizing my jokes, Jeff.
All right. So everybody's had a turn. Now you know how to survive political events. Maybe
Did we have an extra question?
Yes, because I took Jeff's, which was really Jim's.
All right. Well, I would say we open it up to the floor.
All right. 4. You're having your picture taken with Santa and the jolly old elf grabs your rear end in a bad way. You rip off the beard and exclaim, "I knew it was you, blank." Fill in the blank.
Well, if he sniffed my hair first, I know who I would.
Yeah, but there was no hair sniffing, so it has to be Slick Willie.
It has to be Bill. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, I'd say that it's me, Donald Trump, who's Santa Claus, okay? Because I grab him by the you-know-what all the time. That's what elves do, okay? That's what we all do. So I'm that guy. All right, I'm that guy.
There you go, that locker room talk.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
So for me, since I have a new woman in my life, Kirsten Sinema hasn't been able to get over me breaking up with her. So it would be her. And I would turn around and say, "Look, Kirsten, I'm sorry. I had to move on. I fell in love. I will cherish the time that we have together, but you got to find somebody else."
What about your hottie, Andrew? What's her name?
Well, there's
I believe you're referring to Tulsi Gabbard.
There's Elise Stefanik. There's Tulsi Gabbard. I've grown on Kirsten Sinema, I must say. There's AOC, so there's quite a few of them. So
well, she's newly single,
all
so
of them are touching.
You can hit her up. I'll hook you guys up.
Well, now you guys know how to survive political events. Hey, maybe we should call this Political Survivor. Anyway, folks, we hope you played along with us, and remember to share your answers with us in the comments section on Facebook or YouTube as payback. Thanks for joining us, and pop on over to libertynation.com for a little bit of sanity, analysis, and very best in political humor. All right, I'm stopping my phone. Don't forget to check out our daily memes to keep a smile on your face. And that's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in, and remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone. We're running a special this Christmas, just $6 for 6 months. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.